Hey guys, so I was in a really good mood to make a video, and I don't even know why, but I didn't know what kind of video to make, and so I asked my best friend Ashley what she thought I should do, and she said that I should make a 90s tag video. I don't know if there are like several different 90s tags or if this is the only one, but I'm just gonna go with the one that I found. When I was a little kid, the main TV show that I watched was Rugrats. I loved Rugrats. And I was also a Powerpuff Girls kind of girl. And I also liked the TV show All That. I remember like it coming on like every Saturday. And I would like run to my TV and like make sure that I sat out that time to watch that show. And I would like force my parents to watch it with me. The Amanda Show was kind of near like the early like 2000 2001, but since she kind of started out in All That, like I'm just gonna go ahead and say this too. Like I loved the Amanda Show. I had a really hard time like deciding this, but I'm gonna go with My Little Pony because when I was a little kid, like I had this huge collection of My Little Ponies, and then my next door neighbor would like sit there and play with them with me. And this is the thing, he wasn't even a girl, he was a boy, and he would sit there and play My Little Ponies with me because he was like the coolest kid ever. Like, and me and my sister had um like this huge collection of Barbie dolls, and we would set a day out, and it would be like from when we woke up to like near the time we went to bed, and we would like set that entire day out and just sit there and play Barbies. One really cool toy that I can remember from back in the 90s, it was like these two little telephone things, and they were like real telephones. Like they would ring, and like they were connected, and they were sort of like walkie-talkies. They were sort of like walkie-talkies, but they weren't. They were telephones, and like when they were connected and their cords were connected to each other, like you could like actually talk to somebody through them. But anyways, me and my sister used to have one of those when we were little kids, and my sister would have her end in her room, and then I would have my end in my room, and we would just like ring it back and forth and talk to each other on the phone. And it got like so bad that my mom got like sick and tired of us like playing with that thing, that she literally like threw it away because she was tired of hearing that thing ring. And there are only two commercials that I can remember like plainly in my head. The Hostess like Twinkies or cupcakes or something. And it had like a possum or a raccoon or something another in the middle of the road, and I guess it was getting ready to get hit by a truck, and the headlights of the truck were like coming towards it, and all it saw was like this giant Twinkie with like the cream filling in the middle, and like it was like coming towards the possum, and the possum was like, oh my gosh, and then it got hit, and then it was like at the end of it, it was like, where's the cream filling or whatever. But I loved that commercial when I was a little kid because I was weird. Gusher gummies, and it was like every time they would eat a Gusher, their head would turn into a fruit. And I was so paranoid every time I watched those commercials when I would get a pack of Gushers that if I ate one, my head was going to turn into a strawberry or something. But it was a pretty good commercial. They're actually what started my boy band obsession. And if you don't know me, then I am completely obsessed with boy bands. The Backstreet Boys was what started my boy band obsession from when I was like 3 years old up until now. I always thought that they were cuter. I always thought that their music was better. I just liked them more for some reason. But like I never had anything against NSync. Like I like them too, but I just preferred the Backstreet Boys. The only thing that I can think of was, it was these shoes that my mom would let me wear when I was a little kid. And I don't even know how to describe them, but they were like these like hard plastic, like colorful, sparkly shoes. And I thought that they were really cute. But at the same time, every time you would walk outside in them and you would step on gravel, like you would feel it through the shoe. And it just hurt to walk in them. No, they were kind of weird. Number one thing that I am gonna say is Pokemon cards. Because even if you were a girl back in the 90s, I know that everybody, at least one time in their life, has collected Pokemon cards. I liked Beanie Babies, and also like Teletubbies. Like the, like the ones that used to have in like McDonald's or like Burger King, like kids meals or whatever. It was like these little keychains with like the different Teletubbies on them. Like I used to collect those, and I had like 10 of each Teletubby. There were also these like Rugrats watches that you could collect that were like from Burger King. There was this one that I can remember me and my sister used to fight over it. I have no idea why. It was just a stuffed animal. Yeah, it was called Lollipop the Pony, and we literally wore that sucker out. I never had like an actual Tamagotchi before, I don't think. Like, I always had like the little Happy Meal toy ones. Like, they were never like the actual thing. But just by those ones, like, I never really cared too much for them because you had to play with them and take care of them all the time and stuff. And I hated that when I was a little kid. Well, I was very little back in the 90s, so I didn't have very many video games. But I do remember me and my sister having a Game Boy. Yes, one Game Boy. We shared it. And we had one game that went with it, and that was a Rugrats game. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like Tommy going through little areas of the house, and like you had to get him past certain things to get him outside. And I don't know, it was really fun, but I could never make it past like the second level where he was like outside. And I had this one little game that you plugged up into your TV, and it was like one of those like little control games, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. And it was like this like makeover type game, and it had like three judges, and they would tell you how they wanted this certain person to look. And so you would have to like dress up that person the way that they wanted them to look, and then they would come back on stage and like grade you on it. But when I was a little kid, I just thought it would be funny to just dress them up however I wanted them to look and then let them go out on stage, and I always got like bad grades for them. But back in my day, Disney Channel was actually pretty good. Um, First of all, I'm gonna say this one movie, and it was called Pixel Perfect. And it had this guy in it that I had like the hugest crush on when I was a little kid, and his name was Ricky Allman. And if you don't know who that is, he played Phil in Phil of the Future, which was also on Disney Channel. But anyways, this movie was about this guy, which was him, who created this like holographic girl that was like his dream girl or whatever. And then his best friend had a secret crush on him, and she liked him, but nothing she did was ever good enough because his holographic girl was like everything that he wanted her to be. So I don't even know, but it was a really good movie. And Halloween Town, duh. Mom's got a date with a vampire or something. Like, it was really good. Xenon. Cannot forget Xenon. I loved Xenon. Britney Spears, the Backstreet Boys, and the Spice Girls. I have like 3. Okay, I have Allegra's Window, Little Bear, and Blue's Clues. There was this one candy that I can remember. We would like take a road trip to go see my cousins, and we could never find this candy like anywhere else. Like they only had it up there, and so we could only get it whenever we went on a road trip. But me and my sister loved this candy. It was called Bug City candy, and they kind of tasted like sweet tarts, but they were better than sweet tarts. But they were shaped like little bugs, and they were like really really good. And like once you finished them, like it came in like this little jar that had like little holes at the top, so you could like actually collect bugs in it if you when you were done if you wanted to. Hubba Bubba squeeze pop things. It was like this like flavored goo. I know that doesn't sound right, but it was like watermelon and blue raspberry and strawberry and green apple and stuff like that. But they were really really good. Assuming this one's like board game, and like, only one that I can really remember like distinctively is Pretty Pretty Princess, which was like this like dress up game. Like I played that game all the time growing up. I played it till I was like 13 or 14. Like it was the best game ever. I seriously wish I still had it right now. Like I would be playing it, like no doubt. I was a little kid, they used to make Ronald McDonald VHS tapes, and my dad would buy them for me like all the time, and they were like the best. Like I don't even know if they were really Happy Meal toy. I think you had to like pay for them, but my dad would buy them for me, and they were like the best thing in the whole wide world. Like their little versions of Betty Spaghetti's. Like I don't know if anybody remembers Betty Spaghetti, but yeah, she was one of my favorite toys too. I have several. I have The Babysitter's Club. That Moo Cows That Type, that was like my favorite book ever when I was a little kid. It was the best. I don't even know if that was a 90's book, but it was something like that. Duh, Limited 2. I can't remember, but yeah. I remember what I used to watch before school, and that was like Chippendale Rescue Rangers or something like that. I used to watch that every day before school. This is the end of the tag, and I'm sorry this was like really, really long, but I was bored and I wanted to make a video. So, yeah.